Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew, and I've pored over countless issues of Fantastic Four, and I'm going to judge the top 10 crappiest characters. Now, bear in mind, this does not include anything from 1990 on. I'm a Bronze Age guy, I'm a Silver Age guy, and when books started selling really well and they printed all these these redundant publishing is what it's called. I mean, they would have a success, not just the FF, but it was mostly Ghost Rider, Punisher, and X-Men, and stuff like that. So, going back to the year before John Byrne took over as writer, penciler, and inker. Now, this is a very divisive era of the Fantastic Four. It's either loved or hated, and I wasn't keen on it. This was one of the books that was at the bottom of my read pile. I was a big Marvel zombie, and this came towards the end because although Doug Moench and Bill Sienkiewicz did brilliant stuff on Moon Knight, I mean, it's still, I love it to this day. For some reason, they were doing Fantastic Four at the same time, and I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, they're both master craftsmen. I just thought it was a really weird choice, and it was odd. It starts off, well, there's a promotional book. It was originally a Fantastic Four promotional book that was going to be with some toys or something, and that filled in 2 pages. It was written by Byrne, inked by Sinnott. I think it was the very first Byrne written book with this glorious all red cover. Jumping ahead. Okay, now this is a couple issues and right before the end. So I read this and I tried really hard to understand it. I'm not stupid. I know I'm not stupid. At this time, Sienkiewicz was totally aping Neil Adams, as has hundreds of artists. So he started off with that, and then he grew into his own. What I did like, man, what I love though is during this year they introduced a new romantic interest with Johnny Storm. What's her name again? Can't believe it. Oh, Lori. Yeah, and I loved it. You know, I just loved it. But then when Byrne came along, actually the last issue before Byrne, she said goodbye. And that's sort of very common when you have a huge creative team change. And it's a shame because I liked her because she was just different. I mean, Johnny should have more than like 2 important women in his life. So, but Joe Sinnott inking a Neil Adams clone is really wonky. There were 2 issues of Thor that Neil Adams did that he wanted Joe Sinnott to ink to go with that Marvel style. And that was neat for like a I don't know, just like a bit, you know, like, we'll see how this goes, but it just doesn't work on a monthly basis, in my opinion. So, and, wow. Somehow Reed summoned this creature, and it's basically a living black hole, and he shows up to Earth, and he has all these black tendrils that absorb power from people. And see, I mean, the thing looks like he's been on a liquid diet. Just very odd. Here's the weird thing. Here it goes. Where do I start? And then the 2 comrades fall under a shadow of deepest darkness. Deepest darkest? Okay. Blacker than black, blotting out all light, sucking it from the myriad reflective surfaces to chill the soul under a Stygian pall. Boy, that's some paragraph. Whew. I'm surprised I got through it. The looming man monster roars, and the deafening noise is the very absence of all sound, stabbing deep into the mind and rip excruciating pain to the ears. So it's just odd. That's a very weird description. I was like, back then they used photo stats. They would take a photo of this and reverse it and just paste it up. So he has these black streamer tentacles that suck energy out of people, and it's just so odd. He basically was, it's an instinctive creature that was called because, this happened a lot of times, where Reed would be doing some experiments and then some otherworldly creature would be attracted to our planet. So those who would complain that, FF, you brought this to us, you brought us a lot of trouble, and sometimes they were right. I'm trying to think specifically. As if on cue, the black streamers uproot the portion of the ocean's floor, and the Atlantic now boasts a virgin island. Okay. You know why. Earth is trying to kill me, just as so many planets try to kill me. All life, billions of eons, I have sought other life, and this time I've come in contact with it. I am destroyed. Wait, and every time I come in contact with it, I am destroyed. It's a no-win situation, and it sounds absurd. So he's sought other life, but the other life on these other planets are killing him. That makes no sense. I don't get it. It's absurd. But Doug Mensch is actually, he probably knows what he's doing with this, because he's very well read, but it's not explained adequately enough for my take as a reader, a fan, and I, maybe I'm not getting it. So this other woman comes along. She's sort of like the Watcher. She shows up and does the exposition about his storyline, and yes, there we go. The thing goes to the lady, goes, most of what you're saying comes out gibberish to me, lady. And I was the same way. It was just bizarre. And hear the story about these two. They're not Skrulls, by the way. They look a lot, except they don't have bumpy chins, and they don't have chins at all. So blah 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 blah. So you get a lot of this. So let's see. He had come unto like a black hole himself, and upon contact with the first planet, his energy was pulled outward to begin destroying the planet, even as the planets destroyed him by siphoning off his vital lethal energies. See, I don't get that at all. It's like, no. And upon the cataclysm of his death, he destroyed his first world. Now, he's dead, right? But then he was reborn and released energies of destruction to continue to seek new life in the infinity and repeat the tragic process endlessly. So it's sort of like Galactus, but in an ass-backwards way, because when Galactus shows up on Earth, or any other planet, it doesn't cause him pain. So I don't know why that's associated, but it just doesn't work as a story. That's just... Well, here we go. Nightmare in the Negative Zone. So here's the thing. Like I said, the thing looks like he is on a all-liquid diet. Just like the thin Neil Adams foreshortening, where people were really like strung really long. It doesn't work with Ben Grimm. Here is number 9. Now he beat out Evan Seeker as another lame character. I like the design. He doesn't seem to have a lot of purpose. He's one of those Negative Zone guys who wants to like. He doesn't want intruders in the Negative Zone. What happened in the last issue was somehow the whole building and the whole block ended up in the Negative Zone. See the little glowing city escape. Heaven help us. We're stuck here, trapped in the Negative Zone, perhaps forever. So, and the people in the streets are having a fit. That's understandable. There's a real Neil Adams pose there. It just doesn't work for me. And the odd cropping that's just, I don't know. There's some dead air, and the balance isn't just quite right. I can't, like I said, when Sienkiewicz went into his more artsy side, I think it was a vast improvement. Yeah, see, that's supposed to be the thing. towards the end of this issue. Sienkiewicz inks himself to get the book out. But unfortunately, at the end, I don't know who did this. Is a John Romita and Romita Raiders panel there. And that's when Laurie breaks up with him. So there. You got two crappy villains for the price of one. And then you got the Overmind. Ooh, another big bad villain who is, I really don't care for. I really don't. So, he's, okay, there he is. Kind of interesting. Kind of like a decent design in a way, but I would always see him as like a one-off, almost like a character who would show up one issue and then go away. But this guy lasted for several issues. He showed up later, I think, in the Defenders, in the early years of the Defenders, but then later in around 1980, J.M. DeMatteis made him a member of the all-new Defenders with the Beast and a bunch of other people. And I just wasn't into it. So, but here comes the Watcher. The Watcher, I should have guessed, but nothing would bring him to Earth this way unless the universe itself is in dire danger. I like the color scheme, it's different. A little brown, a little red. I love this. Watcher is such a dick. Once again, I have violated my oath to my people and tell you what I beheld. Read, what do you mean? I can only say one phrase. One phrase that may change all of human life. Beware the Overmind. The Overmind, but who is it? I could say no more. You've been forewarned. The fate of all mankind is in your hands. See ya. It's like, what a dick move. Let's get everybody freaked out, and they don't even know what they're, what to expect. And then Agatha Harkness, who is the babysitter for little Franklin, and she says, "Oh, there's great danger." Well, Sue turns on the little radio there to see if there's any mention of the Overmind. That very name sends chills down my spine. The mayor has issued an executive order calling for the disbanding of the Fantastic Four due to the citywide outcry in the interest of public safety. So, I love that panel. Look at that. That's John Buscema having fun. He doesn't usually... Or is it John Buscema? Is it John Romita? Yeah, it's John Buscema. But I just love that. I've never seen him redo that, but he's doing it so he doesn't plop down. He could turn into a ball, I guess, but he might bounce away. So they're told they have to break up. They have to turn themselves in. And the mayor, he's not supposed to resemble any other mayor. He's just, standing in as the mayor of New York. He's hypnotized by Overmind. And Frank Giacoya takes over the inks here, and it's real brash, but I kind of like it because he has a similar style in inking as John Romita. He's really sharp, and from what I understand, Frank Giacoya never met his deadlines, but Stan loved his ink so much that he kind of gave him a pass. So here comes the Overmind, just strutting on town. And take me to your leader, huh? So he changes his guise so he can walk among them, none suspect. Never mind that he's, 9 foot high. It's just absurd. So you kind of have this sort of stuff going around, and it's really, he's just not an interesting character. It's just kind of, and this is, I think they were trying to do another Galactus, basically. And he was going to basically take over the world with super hypnotism. So, isn't that sensational? So, I think it's one of those things where, Stan, without Jack, it was like a year without Jack, and Stan's probably like, well, I'll come up with another Galactus type villain. And there's just a lot of useless stuff going on here. Get this iPad. All I do must be inscribed upon the tablet of the Eternals. Now, the Eternals is an interesting comment because Jack Kirby's Eternals would show up 4 or 5 years later, and it's purely coincidence unless Mark Grunwald, who was the king of continuity until his passing in 96, maybe he tied it all together. I don't know, but this panel cracks me up. I mean, it's perfect marvel. It's like, no human knows, no human suspects. And if they should learn my secret, I'll seal his lips forever. Now, it's like, there never really is much of a secret. And when the secret is revealed, it's not going to make a difference. It's just one of those panels that's like over-the-top melodrama. I mean, when I was a kid, I ate this stuff up, but I still do, but I know it for what it is. Some people could look at stuff and be not, oh, everything is great, but I can call stuff that looks like shit or seems like shit. Yeah, there's the watcher. Busy not interfering and soulfully substituting for rascally Roy Thomas, who got bogged down filling in for our leader elsewhere. Soulfully? Well, anyway, Archie Goodwin is just scripting, so he's not responsible for this mess. Here is the background. Let's see. A place of primitive... Ooh, there's swinging a motorcycle down the road. A place of primitive savagery, rampant, unchecked, yet existing side by side with science and technology to stun the senses. They were the Eternals. I don't know if it was ever copying anybody. Well, what happens is they are an immortal race. They can't die. They cannot die from hunger, starvation, or ailments that, or even aging. So the Eternals, they were, for in their in their mastery of science, they had mastered aging and natural death as well, but not the strain of savagery rampant in them as it would on their world. Gifted with endless life, the Eternals wage endless war. Nature had made them merciless, cruel. Endless eons of life gave the qualities time to grow, to strengthen, and ultimately consume them entirely. They lived but to conquer, to enslave, to destroy. Before the Eternals planet died, and a universe wept. Whew. That's some purple prose, but I love it. I love it. So this is the guy who will become the Overmind. His name is Grom. So I don't know if it's like Wallace and Gromit, although that was several decades later. I just had to mention that. Also, Gromit was the name of our first rescue dog we got back in 96 or so. So he was a character. Well, what they did is there's this huge planet. It like dwarfs other planets. And however, they still get conquered because they're more of a regular society, and the Eternals are just, they just want to kill, kill, kill. So they have these little champion of champions, these contests of champions. There's the world, gigantus world. It cannot convey that which dwarfed the whole galaxies in size. And the Eternals will come to Gigantus. Blah, 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 blah. The Eternals, they war, they kill as if life has no meaning. But how can it, without natural death, to give it urgency? But in their madness, they've gone too far. They do not know what they've undertaken. It's too big. There are too many of them. Our planet would be less than a mountain here. Our population but a village. And each day they grow more skilled in battle. We suffer more defeats. Just a bunch of angry dudes. Now here's something I pointed out because they had reaction bombs. They embedded, the Eternals dropped this bomb, the reaction bombs, embedding themselves deep in the planet's surface, setting off a chain of ever-mounting explosions that would end in total destruction. Now I'm like, huh? Yet unwillingly, the Eternals had sown other seeds. Wait, I thought total destruction. See, that was kind of a blip. So, that's so weird. And also, this origin goes on way too long because it's not terribly interesting. So one of the remaining Eternals and their small little planets. I like that. It's very much like Silver Surfer when Stan and John Buscema did it. So, the spirit of the Eternal shall not perish. Summon the scientist royal. Summon for the final project. Here we go. While we ruled the stars, there was no need to use this discovery. But now the champion Grom stands ready, my lord, as do the multitudes. Blah, blah, blah. Let the brain power of all our surviving people be harnessed, transferred to the mightiest eternal of all ages. Aren't you losing a war? It's like, okay, a second. He says, but before the power can create fruition, we must be an ages-long incubation period. And what are ages? Eons to an eternal. It remains only to hide him from our enemies. And so he is transferred to this interstellar beamer, and it will fire it into the trackless void beyond the galaxies, until one day, from beyond the stars shall come the Overmind, and he shall crush the universe. So I'm asking, it's like, you're sending it away for ages? I mean, you're being defeated, so, you know, you're hoping... I mean, is there going to be anybody to come back to if, you know, if Overmind comes out of his shell, literally? So, and not only that, but he shall crush the universe. It's kind of, I don't know, you're coming from a position of weakness, and second of all, if you crush the universe, I mean, what's left? So, I mean, maybe overcome the universe or something, but here comes that pain-in-the-ass watcher still talking. Talk. What a horrible character. Dreadful. And they team up with Dr. Doom for reasons. The prophecies come true. He shall crush the universe. And then, out of the blue, who are you? Where do you appear now? In this world, in all worlds, save my own, I am a stranger. I come because it is time, because you have summoned me. Somehow, they got another character that's been established that sucks. He first appeared in X-Men 11 by Stan and Jack, and it was cool as a one-off, and then he went out to the stars, and then Silver Surfer 5, Stranger showed up for no real understanding. There's no real reason explained. He had some kind of bomb that could destroy the Earth, and there was a scientist, a young scientist, who managed to, defuse the bomb, but he died of some kind of wounds because he got attacked, or there was poison or something. And then Stranger just keeps showing up, and his motives change every time. And I think it wasn't until like the late 80s when Steve Englehart kind of mapped out the Stranger's background. But by then, I was past caring. I was just like, because there was even he was in an issue of Captain America and a Falcon, because he was taking kids off the street and, I don't know, using their brain power or something. Brain power is such an awful term because it's so vague. Let's see. My power of 1 billion brains will, not to be confused with the billion beings that the Mangog has, or the billion suns that the Sentry has. It's just... There were, John was definitely looking at the back of FF Annual 5, where the Silver Surfer transformed Quasimodo from a machine into a man. So... Okay, he who is from beyond the stars now has his universe to crush, dead and lifeless universe, within a mote of dust. So they're both gone, and after his character showed up, the whole world got a little sadder, I think. So, number 7, Tomzuma. He's kind of a given. So, man, this was such a great issue here. I traded Chucky Mason back in 2nd grade or 1st grade to get those books at Christmas time. Long story. So there you go. Tomzuma. Now, the cover is interesting for one thing. The main heroes are not facing the reader, and that's so rare. Usually, they're like looking back at you, or if they fall, like the torch might be upside down and his head's shown, even if it's looking at Tomzuma. But I love the use of gray and brown that Marvel did for a long time. And there's a retailer's message. Kirby starts off every issue with like really cool visual gags with the Thing. He could be doing nothing. He could be sitting on a pair of skis, getting ready to go skiing. And Kirby just loved having the Thing in odd situations. Now this period of time, It was after Stan used the Silver Surfer with John Buscema, even though even Stan admitted that Jack Kirby came up with the Silver Surfer. Kirby felt betrayed because the whole background was different. He got a totally different background than what Stan came up with. So there was a point where he's like, I'm going to stop giving, Marvel my greatest characters, and I'm just going to go through the motions. And so this is a one-time character, and deservedly so. It's fun and it's goofy, but at this point, Kirby doesn't really provide any strong new characters. The only thing he did was Torgo, but he was a metallic being who fought in these slave pits alongside with Ben Grimm and others, and the Skrulls were running the show, and it was like 1930s New York City. Basically, it was a Star Trek episode that Kirby had on TV, but he made it his. He made the story his. This is a page that would be disappearing because if you bought the reprint, reprints at the time in the 70s were only 18 pages and the original stories were 20. This is a page that you could just take out, even though you shouldn't. It was the Marvel Age of Inflation. Tomzuma. I love that coloring. It's so positive. It's so fun. It's fun. It's goofy, but I love the way Sennett's inking and craggy features on the chief. Yeah, I love that. That's very kaiju kind of pose. He talks a bad game. He's like, oh, nasty and shit. He has a little. They have a little background Tomzuma, but it turns out that it was just a robot. Kind of spoiled it. And it's like they never show you where the robot came from. Behold, Tomzuma was here, ready to destroy the monster, but thanks to you, it was not needed. So that's it was basically just a big robot story, and it was never fully explained. And he basically got taken out by shooting him in the mouth. He's like, I've got to make. He goes, you'll fire. It's like you're not firing a shell this time. You'll be firing me. So he squishes down, and he goes. What's weird though is Reed can expand his body and get more molecules, according to like Marvel Universe Handbook, that he can get molecules from like another dimension to allow him to stretch beyond his usual size. But I've never understood. This is like the only time I've known that he's gotten real squishy and compact, because then I'm like, where are the molecules going? Maybe it works in reverse, who knows? But he's like, quickly, let me up, gently, because he's so small. So shoots for the mouth, and he wins a teddy bear. So Tomzuma he's a laugh, but it was a terrible character. And then Creature from the Lost Lagoon. Okay. Hang on a second. I have all the Marvel Masterworks all the way up to the latest, which has John Byrne, and then they're discontinuing the Marvel Masterworks program. From what I understand, the sales aren't that strong, but I did manage to get the very last Byrne issues in Marvel Masterworks, and I wasn't going to buy any beyond that because the quality jumps back and forth. Okay, here we go. Just remember, it's Creature of the Lost Lagoon. Oop, that's not him. That's not him at all. You just hit a Creature from the Lost Lagoon. So it's essentially after the Skrull story with Torgo around issue 92 or so, or 93, there was an edict from Stan to, actually it was Martin Goodman, his cousin-in-law, his older cousin-in-law or something like that, uncle, to just do one-issue stories because sales were hurting because of 15 cents. All through the 60s, at the very beginning of the 60s, comics were a dime, and they quickly became 12 cents. They were a dime for decades, but they became 12 cents when
by the time Fantastic Four 2 came out. And now, that 3 cents, it's so absurd to think, but I know so many people that are like 10 years older than I am who bought Marvel and bought these books in actual time, real time, and they said they stopped at this point on all the Marvel books because right there you're adding a fourth of the price to to your book, and it's like the quality was kind of wobbly, and not only that, the split books that would have like Jack Kirby cap, Gene Cole and Iron Man, and you had Steranko on Shield, and you had when all the split books became individual books, it spread the fanboys' money thin, and nothing like today where you have to buy a big crossover. Frank Giacoia filling in on Kirby, really great stuff. It's a given that basically the main the Kirby fans, I'm kind of in step with a lot of them, where Frank Giacoia was the best Captain America Kirby inker, and Joe Sinnott was the best FF inker over Kirby. But once in a while, sometimes schedules have to get done, and maybe Joe was inking something else because he was called to do other stuff. He was never without work, and so once in a while, here we go. This is my favorite panel. That is really nice. Because Kirby doesn't pull off tender very well. He's usually very aggro. And that's why we buy his comics. Because it's just so powerful. So, he's turned to a man. And it's just not that interesting. Nice big splash. This is the period where Kirby was using huge. He was kind of killing time with these big splash pages to move forward, but you know what? It doesn't matter because it's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. Like this stuff going on and all that. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Creature of Black Lagoon is pretty weak. Now, we go to Charisma. You're like, what the heck's a Charisma? Well, it's a one-time character that was in John Byrne's Fantastic Four. It's probably the second, just like Walt Simonson was the second best Thor books after Lee and Kirby. John Byrne was second place to Lee and Kirby, and there's not even a close second. But then Walt Simonson actually did the FF, and that was like the third great era. So, Charisma. Love that cover. And there's a few pages at the beginning and the end, but it's bookended by a story drawn by Kerry Gamble. And I love Kerry Gamble. And Byrne's ink in it too, so it's keeping that consistent. So this woman comes along. She looks kind of like Belladonna, who was in the Spectacular Spider-Man around issue 45 or 8 or something. So she has this power to where she lifts her veil. I gotta show it first. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, things on Rampage. Let me get back here a second. I'm sorry. We'll just admire the art though. So, there she goes. She lifts her veil. Homina, homina. Got the old Jackie Gleason thing going. So he's possessed by her, and Invisible Girl / woman is holding her own. Man, I love this stuff. See, Gamble, when he was at Marvel, he usually got shitty inks. For most of his career there, I mean, in the early 80s, he got really shitty inks, but this is great inks over him. And it wasn't until he went over to the Superman books through Mike Carlin that he finally got a good ink. I don't remember which one it was. Sorry. So she gets her the veil. You see this schmutz all over her. Turns out that it is special makeup that causes people to be hypnotized. It's crazy. It's goofy. Her makeup must have some hypnotic effect on human males. So she makes her whole head visible, which is a genius move. And they wrap her up. And, okay, here we go. John Byrne's a huge geek. I'm a huge geek. Let's all hold hands and agree we're all geeks, okay? This is for the old school geeks like myself. Okay, here we go. Alicia says to her, amazing, so much anguish, so much damage caused by such a silly power. Oh, I don't know that I'd call it that. After all, silly. After that, I don't know if I'd call that silly, Alicia. After all, you could say that charisma was cosmetically aware. Okay, hang in there. Hold in your belly laughs, okay? I know they're building inside of you. You know, in the 70s, you had the Kree, Captain Marvel, or Marvel. He had the Nega Bands. He shared the Negative Zone with Rick Jones. And when Jim Starlin actually made the character worthwhile for the first time ever, he had Marvel go through this intense cosmic transformation from a being named Eon, and he became cosmically aware, which means he can kind of, you would look at him and you think he's spacing out, but he's not. He might be like, he could see truths in certain situations. And so this is a play on it, because he was always cosmically aware, but she says cosmetically aware. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oofa. Not that good. So then we got the Magia. It's sort of the mob, essentially. And back to this volume. Oh, no, not that yet. This is one of the last Jack and Joe. They never signed covers. I guess he knew it was the end. Start off again with another Ben Grimm dancing. And, oh no! There's a message. It's a warning for us to get out of the Baxter building. It's signed the Magia. So, these are just normal guys. They're mobsters. So, look at these little gadgets. Protective clothes. And what they do is they take over the Fantastic Four building, and there's almost no there's no explanation how they get through all the security systems that high-end super villains can't get through. And so the FF are fighting to get back in their headquarters, and they use gas, knockout gas. Ooh, wow, that's never been done. And they get sent into the water to sleep with the fishes. So and Kirby's he's just going through the motions. He's having fun. But the Magia, they're hardly in the same weight class as the Fantastic Four. I like this a lot, where Sue spins around and bowls the guy over with a force sphere. Yeah, I said that right. So somebody else pointed this out. He shoots and he ends up in a force bubble, and it's like, how in the hell that bullet did not hit him? Who knows? But it's comics. It's Silver Age comics. Actually, end of the Silver Age. Somebody shows up. Drop that gun, Gimlet. He looked dangerous. You didn't have to shoot him. And it turns out that it is the top mobster. I wanted to crush you. All legal. It was Gimlet who ruined everything. He was the killer. So you have a bunch of hoods just showing up to the monocle number 333 on today's hit parade. And we got another single issue. This was a really great one, though. 94 introduced Agatha Harkness for the first time. The witch who would be the nanny for Little Franklin. So, decent cover. Actually, by Kirby standards, it's great. So, the monocle. Ooh, the monocle. You know what his power is? He has a camera that does stuff. Yep, pretty much. And this is a really odd thing for Jack to do. It's very uncommon. He was, his foot's out the door at this point. He's getting ready for DC with the New Gods and Forever People. But it's like they're on the roof. He stretches. It just seems like, Kirby would have normally made this one page. And so Stan's sort of vamping, I guess, at the time. one of the late period Silver Age Kirby books that it's one of the great ones. That he doesn't. I don't know. He just had fun along the way, but he wasn't giving his best all the time because, as I said, he was going through the motions. He was being a what does John Byrne call that thing? An art robot. So my new Trek Ray has done its job magnificently because he knocked out go back the Fantastic Car off panel, I might add. Oh, there he is. Actually, same color. And his plans to go to the UN. Really, really nice splash there of the people from the UN. So I prime my camera for its fateful new track charge. And here's another full page splash like I was telling you before. It does the really odd lighting here. It really shows us that Johnny Storm is horribly upset that his girlfriend Crystal was taken back by her people, the Inhumans, in the Hidden Land. But it didn't really need to be full page, but again, Kirby really delivers. He did this also with, I think, Loki, and he also did this with Captain America 109, where it was the origin of Captain America, and it showed Steve Rogers just sort of, kind of chest out, kind of saying, no, it's the origin of Captain America. And you'll see a lot of these. There was a guy named Cronus Cragg who was this low-level criminal in Thor, and he got his own page. And he was not impressive, must be honest. So, camera blew apart. Something happened to my new track Ray. So, I fleshed you out at last. New track Rays aren't new. I've been working on them for months. And dig the gun that Reed has. So that was the big... Oh, he falls. It's funny, is they never show him catching him. And I would just be like, I would write it like as if he never caught him at all. But like I said, and then we got the number two is the Terrible Trio, and they're very aptly named. Okay, I don't have the Marvel Masterworks on with me because it's loaded behind a bunch of other stuff. So I am going to break out the Marvel Treasury Edition where they first appeared. It was plucked by Dr. Doom to take down the FF. I can't show a whole lot of this though because I don't have a camera far enough. But he hires these guys. Handsome Harry. He has increased hearing, so he can find the invisible girl and shoot her. And Bull Brogan, who's just a brawler, his muscle power has been multiplied a dozen times. And then there's Yogi Dakor, who's now almost completely flame-proof. And the Human Torch shall learn to his intense sorrow. That's so absurd. I mean, when you think, see, he gets pulled into getting into the car, and there's gas. It's really like low-budget stuff. So, the thing, he's fighting this Bull Brogan guy. I'm not a member of the Yancey Street Gang. My gang was much more dangerous, and now one blast from this cosmic beam gun should end the fight. So he turns into Ben Grimm, gets knocked out, and it's like, where do you get a cosmic gun? And it's never ever referenced again. So they are quite the Terrible Trio. They were aptly named. And number one, who could it be? Who could it be? Okay, I'm too lazy to get a timpani going. I'll just go. I'm choking. I'm trying not to choke. Is Dr. Doom. No, okay, I'm being a jag-off. I was kidding. Guard. If you're a fan of the FF and you have YouTube channels and such, or you watch them, you know this was coming. This is no surprise. He showed up at the end of the story on an alternate Earth where Adam Warlock was born, and so contrived, but fun at the same time. He gets these little hover skates. He's given a disc that he has to throw into this portal, but it's guarded by Guard, Cosmic Hockey Player. Finale, which Buckler just sent, real nice stuff. It's just so wacky. It's beautiful in its wackiness, but yeah, there it is. See, he throws it. Oh, goalie caught it. Flap. It's nuts. I love it. I love it. I love it. But I mean, it's totally absurd. Totally absurd. So, well, he takes off the mask after he's been beaten, and it's Johnny Storm, the alternate Earth, and never shows up again. Never shows up again. Yeah. So, nice. Really, Joe Sennett has been inking the book for 20 years, at least 10 years at this point. So that's it. Let's review, okay? Guard is the crappiest, terrible trio, and then the Monocle, the Magia, and then Charisma, Creature of the Lost Lagoon, Tomzuma, Overmind, and a twin spin of Ebon Seeker and Stygor. So anyway, hope you like this. I saw the FF movie this past weekend. Actually, I saw it Friday morning, and I liked it a lot. And I think a lot of, like, I gave it 7 out of 10 stars. And looking back on it now, it's like I'm not going to go see it a second time. And if it's a Marvel movie that I like, I always see it at least a second time. And they just keep, I think if they took all the FF movies, except for the 2015, if they took like the 2005 and 2007 movies, and they took Roger Corman's, and then they took the newest one, I think they could stitch together a good Fantastic Four movie. It's like they always just want to fiddle with success or potential success. So that's it, everybody. Let me know what your opinions are on all this. You think I'm full of baloney, or shit, or pick your poison. So just tell me what you think. Tell me, what if you have a complete opposite opinion of some of my choices. What were your favorite eras? Who were honorable mentions? Honorable mentions. Infant Terrible from issue 24, and the only reason I don't have him on the list is he's this big goofy alien, but it turns out he's being destructive, but it turns out he's an infant, and at the end his parents come and pick him up and they leave, and it's such a great little twist that it's like this super powerful character is just a baby, and then mom and pop pick him up at the end. I like that. Miracle Man, another crappy character, but I had too many similar characters on this list. His powers come and go. He was a hypnotist at first, and then he became somehow in like around issue 139 he had real powers. He stole some mystic powers from some Native Americans, and it's never fully described my satisfaction. And he's also done lots of stuff that's inconsistent. And Machismo, who was around issue 151, he was like this big, smelly, sweaty grunt, oh man, just nasty. And Thundra, by contrast, was being held captive, and it was basically, it came out about the time, like a few years into, like when women's lib was starting to become a common phrase, and Thundra lived on a planet where, like Paradise Island, all women, except they had men for breeding purposes, and they also had them as slaves and such. And Machismo was a complete 180. So it was, when you look at it in that way, in a social commentary sort of way, Machismo isn't really that bad a character. So I know I'm alone in this. Anyway, there goes my honorable mentions. I love the Fantastic Four. Okay, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around. Please hit like and subscribe, and share. That'd be great. Share it with a friend of yours who just saw a Fantastic Four movie and say, hey, this guy Drew, he's a king geek on the FF. You might like this. Because this is like my FF starter kit. Also, please, like I said, hit like and subscribe. But when you're subscribed, make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube has been screwing with a lot of YouTubers. by taking them off taking off subscriptions arbitrarily through the algorithm. Everybody knows when you say algorithm, like the lights get a little dimmer, the whole world gets a little sadder. So, yeah, and then leave comments below too. So that's my top 10, and now I'm done. I'm done hawking my wares. I'm going to do it on the 50-minute mark. 50:01. Catch you later. Bye.